Imagine walking across a jagged mountain pass in the dead of winter without a single layer of protection on your feet. For most of human history, that wasn't a choice, it was simply the brutal reality of survival. We tend to think of shoes as fashion statements or performance gear, but they are actually one of the most sophisticated pieces of survival technology ever engineered. So, who exactly decided that humans needed to stop walking barefoot and start wearing leather? To find the inventor, we have to travel back much further than you might expect. Paleontologists don't have a specific name or a birthday for the person who stitched the first pair together. Instead, they look at the fossil record, specifically the changes in our own skeletal structure. For millions of years, humans had thick, powerful toe bones built for gripping and balancing on uneven terrain. But around 40,000 years ago, those bones started to change. They became smaller and less robust. This suggests that humans had begun using a protective barrier between their feet and the ground, removing the evolutionary pressure to maintain massive gripping toes. But when did we move from wrapping our feet in simple animal hides to true structural footwear? The oldest physical evidence of a shoe ever discovered dates back to 1991. High in the mountains on the border of Austria and Italy, hikers stumbled upon a perfectly preserved frozen body. This was Ötzi the Iceman, a man who died approximately 5,300 years ago. Ötzi wasn't wearing sandals or simple wraps. He was wearing a high-tech survival boot. It featured a sole made of sturdy brown bearskin, an upper section of deerskin, and a netting of tree bark string. Inside the boot was a lining of dry grass, acting as an ancient form of insulation to trap heat and absorb moisture. It was waterproof, durable, and designed specifically for traversing treacherous alpine glaciers. If Ötzi was wearing a boot that complex 5,000 years ago, it means the technology of shoemaking was already well established. It wasn't a recent invention, it was a long perfected craft. As civilizations blossomed, the shoe became a symbol of status. In ancient Egypt, sandals were the standard, but they weren't for everyone. Common laborers walked barefoot. Sandals were reserved for the elite and the pharaohs. They were often crafted from woven papyrus or palm leaves. Sometimes they were gilded with gold. The Romans took this idea and ran with it, literally. They developed the caliga, a heavy-duty military boot with iron hobnails hammered into the sole. Think of it as the world's first soccer cleat. These nails provided grip on muddy battlefields and increased the durability of the leather. A Roman legionary could march 20 miles a day, and the soles of their boots were the only thing keeping them from collapsing. By the Middle Ages in Europe, the shoe became truly bizarre. Take the Krakau, a style of shoe with an absurdly long, pointed toe. The length of the toe indicated the wearer's social status. Some points became so long that they had to be tied to the wearer's knees with silver chains, just so they wouldn't trip while walking. It was the ultimate display of conspicuous consumption, wearing something so impractical that it proved you never had to do a day of physical labor. The modern shoe as we know it didn't really arrive until the Industrial Revolution. Before the 1800s, almost every pair of shoes was bespoke. A cobbler would measure your foot and build a shoe from scratch. It was slow, expensive, and limited to what your local artisan could create. Then came the machines. In the mid-19th century, inventors like Lyman Reed Blake developed machines that could sew leather soles to uppers at high speeds. This turned a luxury item into a mass-produced commodity. Suddenly, people could walk into a store and pick a size that fit. The left shoe and the right shoe became distinct, shaped differently to mirror the anatomy of human feet. Before this, many shoes were made as straights, meaning they were identical and could be worn on either foot. Today, we have carbon fiber running shoes that return kinetic energy with every stride, and sneakers that cost more than a month's rent. We have moved from deer hide and dried grass to recycled plastic and space-age foams. Yet, despite all the innovation, the core purpose hasn't changed. We are still a species of walkers, driven by the same urge that pushed our ancestors out of the cradle of Africa and across every continent on Earth. Every time you lace up a pair of shoes, you are continuing a 40,000-year-old tradition. You are standing on the shoulders of an anonymous inventor who looked down at the freezing ground, felt the pain of the cold, and decided that the earth shouldn't dictate where humanity could go. We didn't just invent a way to protect our feet, we invented a way to conquer the planet. So, the next time you head out the door, take a moment to consider what you're wearing. You aren't just putting on footwear, you are stepping into a legacy of human ingenuity that literally paved the way for the modern world. Where will your feet take you next?